Hi, good morning, everyone. Very nice to meet you. Thank you so much for taking the time to hear about our story and where we're going with Clean Crop, and in particular for accommodating my need to be remote. I appreciate it. As was just introduced, my name is Dan White. I'm co-founder and CEO here at Clean Crop, where we are using electricity to remove contaminants from seeds before they are planted, stopping crop loss at the source without harming germination in the process. Don't have to tell this audience how big of a problem this is that we're solving. The USDA estimates that around 30% of crops are lost in the farm field, particularly in high value, highly perishable horticulture crops, before they even leave the farm gate, succumbing to toxins, pathogens, molds, and pests. The USDA estimates that this loses growers close to $220 billion in potential revenues, and these same contaminants lead to nearly 7% of global greenhouse gas emissions, largely from on-farm mini landfills, generating methane from those crops that are left to rot. A lot of these pathogens come into production fields, whether they're greenhouses, vertical farms, or open field, on the seeds themselves. You can think of them as super spreaders for a lot of plant pathogens. And we've had tools to address these problems for a long time, things like hot water, chemical treatments, and fungicidal coatings. But the challenge is that they force seed companies and growers to choose between seeds that are clean or seeds that can germinate well. This has been a consistent feedback point we've heard from customers for years. We break this trade-off at Clean Crop with our patented clean current high voltage cold plasma system that uses electricity to achieve the same or better decontamination as these existing tools without harming germination in the process. It works by combining food-grade gases with a high-voltage reactor that pumps those gases full of electrons, creating ionized gases. Those ionized gases we can tune to preferentially break down primarily those fungal and bacterial contaminants on seed surfaces without harming the seeds themselves, and in some cases, enhancing their ability to germinate. Whereas most pesticides today, and all pesticides that are going to be allowed in the future, have to be highly targeted to a specific contaminant, our tool is broad spectrum, having generally 99% reduction across a wide range of fungal and bacterial contaminants, regardless of substrate seed. Critically, though, we also deliver this in a system that is dry and automated, addressing a lot of the labor shortage concerns of seed companies and growers, and the dryness allows us to reduce harm to germination in the process. We leave no residues on the seeds, which has allowed us to get organic certification, enabling us to treat seeds that are destined for production in organic systems. We spent a lot of time packaging this core technology into a fully automated hardware stack. Seeds are fed into the hopper you see here, where they travel along a proprietary conveyance system, where they get exposed to the clean current treatment before they move on for further processing. Today, this machine can do 25 pounds of seed per hour, which might not sound like a lot, but in our beachhead market, which is really in reducing defects and reducing bloom in leafy greens and tomatoes and other greenhouse and vertical farmed products, this is more than sufficient in terms of throughput for those high value seeds that go into these systems. So today we commercialize this hardware at our headquarters in Massachusetts on a tolling basis, meaning that customers, both seed companies and growers, will have their seed routed to us. We treat it, repackage it, and send it on to them and charge them a flat fee. This is the first of what will be many tolling operations, operating on-site at seed companies or regionally distributed to address growers and smaller seed producers. Each of these deployments, these tolling operations, will generate an estimated $1 to $10 million in recurring revenue per installation. The keystone of our investment in New York, as the largest market for us, would be to set up a tolling operation in the Rochester area to service the large and growing greenhouse market space that we see in upstate. Today, the machines that we've focused on are developed, that we have commercialized at our tolling line here in Massachusetts, generate a 94% gross margin. So we've really focused on running a couple of machines, dialing in those unit economics before we scale up commercial manufacturing with our partner that we've identified in Rochester. And these machines today, at those top line revenue numbers, would generate an 18-month payback for us on that tolling basis. We see a massive opportunity in this space, where today around $78 billion are spent on crop protection products Nearly 10 billion of that is spent specifically on seed treatments. And what has really opened up excitement is that even though this is traditionally one of those parts of agriculture that's very conservative, where no one wants to change their pesticide regimen, nearly half of the chemicals that go into those seed treatments today have either been banned, are being restricted in their allowable use, or on their way under regulatory review by the EPA, the EU, or Canadian authorities. So customers today are actively looking for new tools that can replace chemicals like Thiram that they see have a really limited future for them. We've been focused on the seed application for the last 3 years and have made significant progress in validating and positioning ourselves to significantly scale our operations in 2025. We ran close to 40 field trials in 2022 on 15 crops with seeds growing in 3 continents. Enough of those field trials went really well that in 2023, we signed close to $1 million ARR in purchase orders before we had even built a commercial machine to service those. We secured regulatory clearance from the organic standards and the EPA for treatments and launched our tolling line in the fall of that year. By the end of 2023, we had 39% of the vegetable seed market in pipeline, with an active commercial contract, signed purchase order, or with an active R&D engagement heading towards sales. In 2024, we focused on really refining those unit economics that I discussed above. We iterated on several different machine types and have now finalized the bill of materials to hand over to a contract manufacturer to scale serial production of these machines within the vegetable market that represents $1 billion TAM for us. In 2025, we are focused on getting our first machines out into inline installs at customer facilities based on that expanded manufacturing with our partner in Rochester that would be financed by the Grow New York investment. In 2026, we're already entering the design phase of the next scale up of our machine that will be at a sufficient capacity to commercialize row crops, starting with soy and canola, which 7X is our addressable market. But our long-term vision is to be the first line of defense against seedborne pathogens across any seeds that are being treated and planted around the world. Because we are dry and automated, the at-scale cost and the ease of integration significantly surpasses all of the very labor-intensive tools today. We have 3-pronged approach to scaling into New York in 2025, which is the largest greenhouse market in the Northeast for us. The first of those, as I mentioned, would be to take the $1 million investment from Grow New York, invest in contract manufacturing with the Optimation team, a rebuild manufacturing partner that we've already been talking with for the last 12 months, based in Rochester. We would then leverage the initial machines built by them to establish a clean crop sales team and tolling facility in Greater Rochester to begin servicing that market area. We've begun conversations with Dr. Neil Matson's lab in horticulture and greenhouse production at Cornell to accelerate validation trials and identify new market applications in floriculture and other niche crops in the vertical farming space that we could apply to. And we already have 4 regional customers in our pilot queue. These are greenhouse growers largely, and we've identified over 500 growers in the state in our pipeline where we could boost yields up to 20% based on comparable performance that we've seen from customers in similar production systems. With the $1 million investment, that would be sufficient for us to build 4 machines to anchor that tolling line in Rochester, creating 6 direct jobs through the sales and technicians for operating that tolling line, and 12 indirect jobs, mostly in manufacturing at our commercial contract manufacturing partner. Those 4 machines would have annual capacity sufficient to treat enough seeds to be able to improve production on 20,000 acres of vegetable crops based on their throughput and seeding rates on core crops like tomatoes, leafy greens, and some of the other core vegetables that we've worked in. We are targeting a gigaton of emissions offsets by the end of 2050, largely through reducing that on-farm crop loss that leads to methane emissions and boosting crop climate resilience. And we have the team to be able to achieve all of these ambitious targets over the next several years. My co-founder and I have spent close to 40 years working across agricultural markets. We understand both inputs, production, and the post-harvest space sufficiently to see where there's value and how to generate it. We've built a full-time team of 17 people with deep expertise in chemical, mechanical, electrical engineering, ag tech commercialization, and business continuity across multiple continents. We are passionate about the opportunity to decarbonize crop protection and expand our operations to help grow impact for the agricultural sector in upstate New York. Really appreciate your time and remain open to questions.
Super, thank you.